to Entrepreneur Sales. So in this video, I'm going to tackle the challenger sell, the challenger selling style, the challenging framework. Now, everyone needs to have their own sales formula, their own sales framework, but honestly, it comes down to personality. That's the way I look at it, or objective, or what you're selling. So you just gotta find what suits you and what matches you, and that's why I'm making this video. So I kind of wanted to start. If you think about it, let me ask you a question here. Why should a prospect choose you over the accountant down the street? Okay, and most people answer, well, because I'm honest, because I care, because I provide great advice. Well, guess what? Right? So does everyone else. So here's the truth. Being good is no longer a competitive advantage, right? You think about it for a second. All right, every accountant claims I care, I respond quickly, I personalize my service, I'm passionate. Your prospect has heard that hundreds of times, okay? If everyone sounds the same, everyone becomes a commodity, and commodities compete on one thing, and that's price. So the challenger sale was built to solve exactly this problem. It teaches one fundamental principle, all right? Let me move this up here. You can get a better glimpse at me, right? This thing, here's what it does, okay? Understand this. People don't pay more because you explain your service better. They pay more because you change the way they think. And that single idea separates elite advisors from average salespeople. Hey, let's jump into lesson 1. Let's have some fun here. In lesson 1, and make sure you're writing all this down, lesson 1, I want you to title it, The Market Has Changed. Okay, the market has changed, and let me delve into that. So let's go back 20 years, all right? If someone needed an accountant who controlled the information, the accountant, okay? Well, in today's world, the buyer does. Before they ever contact you, they've already read Google reviews, compared pricing, watched YouTube, read, what's that thing called? Reddit. Okay, they've compared QuickBooks Pro advisors. They've even downloaded free bookkeeping software, right? They've talked with friends, other business partners. So by the time they meet you, understand, guys, they already know what bookkeeping is. They already know what tax preparation is. They already know what payroll is. Information is no longer valuable. Interpretation is. I want you to think about it for a second. All right? Every business owner can see financial statements. Very few understand what those statements are trying to tell them. That is your opportunity. The accountant of the future isn't an information provider. They're a translator of financial reality. All right? Let's move on to lesson 2. Lesson 2. Guys, and write this down. People buy new thinking. People buy new thinking. And I want to say this. The challenger philosophy that I'm teaching, it is simple. Okay? I don't want you to impress people with knowledge. Change the lens through which they see their business. For a second, imagine someone walking into your office, okay? And they say, hey, I think I need bookkeeping. Most accountants will respond and say, we offer monthly bookkeeping packages. The challenger responds differently. Hey, I'd love to help, but can I ask, why bookkeeping specifically? What happened that made this become important today? Immediately, the conversation changes. Never assume the client has diagnosed themselves correctly. All right, it'd be nuts if I went into a doctor and I said, doctor, my back hurts, need medicine. Right? That wouldn't happen. So never assume that the client diagnosed themselves correctly. People are experts in their business. They're not always experts in diagnosing business problems. And there's a big difference there. That's your job, right? Lesson 3. Write this down. Teach before you sell. Teach before you sell. This is where the challenger separates themselves, right? The challenging framework, the challenging style formula. So instead of presenting services, present insights, okay? An insight is something true, useful, unexpected, and financially meaningful. Let me provide an example for you. Imagine speaking to a growing construction company. So most of you would say to them, hey, we provide bookkeeping. Teach them this instead, all right? Literally line for line. You should always copy what I say. One of the biggest reasons construction companies experience cash flow issues isn't because they aren't profitable, it's because they recognize revenue faster than they collect cash. Profitable companies still go bankrupt if cash timing isn't managed correctly. Bam! Notice what happened, okay? You haven't sold anything, you've increased. What have you increased? Think about it for a second. With that line, you've increased your perceived expertise. Every insight deposits trust into what psychologists call your authority account. So look at it like this way. The more valuable insights you give, the less your recommendations feel like sales. And that's the name of the game. All right, lesson 4. Let's go to lesson 4. The 3 levels of knowledge. The 3 levels of knowledge. And average accountants operate at level 1. You're not average. That's why you watch these videos. But this is level 1. Okay, so it's all about facts, right? They sell and tell, I call it. We reconcile bank statements. We file taxes. We process payroll. Guys, clients can Google facts. Your title alone gives away what you do. All right, let's go to level 2 and make sure you're writing these levels down. There's 3 levels, okay? Level 2 is interpretation. And you would say something like this. Hey, we notice your gross margin declined 6% over the last year. We notice your labor costs are increasing faster than revenue. Now you're adding value. Now you're adding value, okay? Let's go to level 3. Guys, prediction. This trend tells me you'll likely experience cash flow pressure during the 4th quarter unless something changes. Prediction is where advisors live. Clients pay premium prices for foresight. Anyone can report history. Professionals forecast the future. And if you're just a bookkeeper, just a tax preparer, you need to get your profit and growth expert certification from us at Universal Accounting Center and get Roger Connect as a coach. I mean, there's nothing better than that. All right, lesson 5, commercial insight. Commercial insight. The challenger introduces something called commercial insight. So what this is an observation that makes the prospect rethink their current strategy. Good commercial insight follows this formula. Okay, so we've got current belief up here, right? And that translates down to new evidence, which translates down to business consequences. Okay? The next thing, down to new opportunity. So it's current belief, new evidence, business consequences, new opportunity. Right? So, look, let me give you an example. Let's say this is their current belief. Okay? They say, I only need bookkeeping for taxes. But new lens, new perspective. Okay? So here, businesses, this is what you would say back. My nose is so itchy. This is what you would say back. Hey, businesses that review financials monthly make dramatically faster operational decisions than businesses that only review them during tax season. Well, the business consequence there is they identify cash flow issues earlier and adjust pricing sooner. So you cut unnecessary expenses faster. Okay, that's what you want to do. So the opportunity here is bookkeeping becomes a decision-making system instead of a compliance expense. Well, that's a completely different buying conversation. And I hope that resonates with you and lands like a plane like I intended it to. All right, lesson 6. Lesson 6. Constructive tension. So, and I hear it a lot. You got to think, I train the best of the best salespeople in the world. Okay, so I see it go on all the time. And most salespeople are avoiding disagreement. You guys avoid disagreement. Well, I respectfully create it. Not conflict, but perspective. Okay, so, for example, I actually disagree with something you just said, John. Well, that's powerful. Well, then explain. You mentioned you're waiting until next year because revenue isn't high enough. Interestingly, many companies don't grow because they wait. They grow because they invest in the systems that allow them to scale. So what I'm doing is I'm challenging, not attacking. I'm not being aggressive. I'm being assertive. And I'm speaking from authority. The goal isn't to prove them wrong. The goal is to help them see something they couldn't previously see. Does that make sense? I hope it does. All right, lesson 7. Guys, and write this down. The title of lesson 7 is Tailoring Your Teaching. Tailoring your teaching. You should never give generic advice. It ticks me off when I hear it. Okay, look, a CPA cares about different things than a restaurant owner. A law firm has different KPIs than a roofing company. A manufacturing company measures success differently than a consulting firm. The insights stay the same. The examples change, okay? Professionals customize and amateurs memorize. It's something you have to write down and you have to live by. Let's go to lesson 8. Guys, taking control. You can't be the challenging style without you ever taking control. This is the most I would say probably the most misunderstood part of the whole challenger selling, right? Taking control doesn't mean dominating like some kind of weirdo. It means confidently guiding somebody. I like to always refer back to the doctor because doctors don't ask, what surgery would you like? You got to think they recommend. The same with attorneys. Okay, like for example, an attorney wouldn't ask, what law would you like me to use? It would make sense. They recommend. And architects, another great example, okay? Architects wouldn't ask, what engineering calculations would you prefer? No, they recommend. Authority comes from expertise. So once you've diagnosed, taught, and created insight, you earn the right to recommend. Notice the language. So instead of what would you like to do, say this. Based on everything we've uncovered today, here's what I believe is the best path forward. You notice the difference? That language communicates certainty. Are you kidding me? Clients borrow confidence from professionals. Happens daily. Right? But you're so darn timid and weak-minded, don't believe in your ability to communicate, holds you back. Or maybe you're good at communicating, but you don't understand sales. Well, now you do, so you have no excuse. All right? Let's go to Lesson 9. Lesson 9 is titled The Neuroscience Behind Challenger Selling. Well, why does this work? Because your brain constantly builds mental models. So when someone introduces evidence that doesn't fit your current model that you're constantly running, your brain experiences prediction error. And prediction error is one of the primary drivers of learning. So what happens is it forces the brain to pause and reconcile the mismatch. That's why surprising, relevant insights are very memorable. All right? So let me give you an example here. If a prospect says, I never thought about it that way, what happens is you're witnessing a shift in their mental model, which is beautiful. That's what we want. If your insight is credible and tied to their business, the brain begins updating its understanding, and your expertise becomes associated with that new understanding. This is also why stories, analogies, and financial examples are so effective. They don't just deliver facts, they help people recognize how they think. All right, let's go to Lesson 10. The Challenger Conversation Framework. Here's a practical flow you can use in your next meeting. So number 1, guys, build rapport naturally. All right? And the next thing is, I'll go 1. Number 1, build rapport naturally. Number 2, and make sure you're writing these down. And if you need to pause it and then rewind just to get everything, that's good. But let me roll through it for you. So the very first thing you want to do is build rapport naturally. Okay. Number 2 is explore the current state with thoughtful questions. Number 3 is introduce a commercial insight that reframes the problem. Number 4, explain the business consequences if nothing changes. Okay. The next step would be number 5. I want you to paint a realistic future state. The next step is number 6. Recommend the path that best addresses the underlying issue. And then 7, invite commitment to the next step. So what this sequence does is this sequence makes the recommendation feel earned rather than forced. So let me give you a series of word tracks to actually follow this formula I just laid out for you. Okay, so instead of saying, let me tell you about our bookkeeping services, I want you to replace it with, because we discuss solutions, I'd like to share an observation I've seen across dozens of growing businesses that may change how you think about this challenge. Bam! All right. Instead of our advisory program is amazing, say this instead. Many owners believe advisory is an added expense. The businesses that benefit most view it as a decision-making system that helps prevent expensive mistakes before they happen. Let me say it again. I almost took it down one way, and I ended up taking it down that path. So instead of our advisory program is amazing, you want to hit them with this. Hey, many owners believe advisory is an added expense. The businesses that benefit most view it as a decision-making system that helps prevent expensive mistakes before they happen. Let's move to the next one. Instead of what questions do you have, based on everything we've discussed, what part of this changes the way you're thinking about your business the most? That question tells you whether your insight landed or not. So my challenge for you, before your next sales conversation, I want you to commit to this. Guys, don't try to impress the prospect with everything you know. Teach them one meaningful insight that helps them make a better decision. If they leave your meeting seeing their business differently than when they arrived, you've created the value. You did your job, and that's what it's all about. That's everything I teach, okay? The accountants who thrive over the next decade won't be the ones who know the most tax code or software shortcuts. They'll be the ones who consistently improve the quality of their clients' thinking. And that's the essence of the Challenger sell. People rarely remember every feature you described. They remember the professional who helped them see something important that they couldn't see on their own. And that's what it's all about. So guys, I'll leave you with this. Remember, audacity is huge, and it's all about having the prospects see a different perspective. So I hope this video helped you, and I will see you in the next one.